I hope you're having a fabulous weekend. It is Sunday, October 5th here, and it is actually starting to feel like fall. And I cannot be more happy, except for the fact that I'm inside, but only for a while with you guys, doing some creative, crafty fun, which of course I need to do. So, excuse me. Oh my goodness. I see folks are coming in. Hello, Shanna. How are you, darling? All right, guys. Today I'm actually going to be doing some Memory Dex cards. I got involved in a swap for 50 states. And so, of course, I am representing Tennessee. Woo woo. And our local scrapbook store in Knoxville had actually come across this stamp set, and they sold it a couple of years ago. I don't know if they still have it there or not, but it's an absolutely fabulous stamp set, and it represents Tennessee so beautifully. As you can see, we've got the Tennessee state with all of the cool little elements there. We've got some mountains, Rocky Top, Home Sweet Home to Me. Hello. Got a couple of cute little sentiments there. Hashtag Tennessee, a little guitar, front porch sitting, and sweet tea sipping. Absolutely. So, anyway, I thought, you know what? This is the perfect stamp set to use for that. And I don't get to use it very often because normally I'm focused on my Stampin' Up stuff, right? But occasionally I like to branch out, and Stampin' Up! Doesn't have anything like this. So I'm using this stamp set, and I'm actually going to be creating quite a few of the Memory Dex cards because, ultimately, I don't know if I'm the only one that's in Tennessee swapping states, but so far I'm the only one who's mentioned Tennessee. So I'm getting a lot of gals from other states wanting to swap with me and get a Tennessee one. So I'm just going to go ahead and do some Memory Dex designing today. So I hope that you guys will enjoy it. And while you're watching, feel free to chime in with ideas and thoughts, and just tell me what you're up to today. I love chatting with you guys. So leave a comment. I think it's right over here. Leave a comment and let me know what you're up to today, what's going on in your world, how things are going. And it looks like none of my items imported. So let me just go ahead and see if I'm able to import things, because I think I'm supposed to have things available for you guys. If I can get those things loaded up in there, great. And let me just take a look here and see if I can't get that inventory, I think, is how I go about that. Honestly, today I'm really just all about I'm all about just wanting to there we go. I'm just wanting to be able to craft with you guys. So here we go. Let me do that, and I think that's how I go about it. And there we go. So there's a bunch of stuff that's been added. You'll be able to take a look there and see. And if there's anything that you see in the listing that you want me to run, just let me know, and we can go from there. Otherwise, I think it's all buy it now items. So anyway, you can see the items there. And just let me know, okay? And let's see. All right. So anyway, as I was saying, I'm going to be making some Memory Dex cards. And first thing I want to do is I want to measure this stamp, because ultimately, of course, I need to make sure it's going to fit the Memory Dex profile. And I'm only slightly concerned, that is a little bit too big. I think it is. I think they have to be under 4 inches. So let me take a look here right quick. I have a variety of different Memory Dex dies that I use for my bases. And let's see here. Okay, this is going to be my standard, and it is 4 inches. I was thinking so. All right, so unfortunately, I'm going to have to be strategic about how I use that Tennessee stamp, but I really, really want to use it. So I think what I'm going to do is maybe if let's see, okay, so if I have it stamped and cut out, I could put it at an angle like this, or actually, that's kind of cool. I like it like that. And then maybe just a little bit more, and then that should fit in the 4 inch. We'll see. We'll see how that works. Okay. All right. So, one thing that I thought about doing, and I went ahead and I put all of the stamps on the big block here because I thought about embossing them all in gold because that would be beautiful, and making a background on white cardstock. So I thought about taking white cardstock and doing a little bit of color blending to give me a nice, pretty kind of um, subtle marbled type of background, and then gold emboss these right over the top, so that what I would end up with is, this writing in gold on a nice subtle background. So I think we're going to try that out and see. Let me just see, what's the size of my thing here. If I go you know what? I'm going to try to cut this down into 4 pieces and and see if I can adjust those stamps to fit on a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch piece of cardstock. Because if I can, then I can for sure get 4 sets for one sheet of cardstock. And that would be ideal because, like I said, I'm going to have to make a bunch of these. Of course, I've not even designed it yet. I'm going to be designing it here with you guys today. But this will give me a better guide for what I'm going to be doing. Okay, so I've got those 3 set up there. And what I'm going to do then is I'm just going to take the stamps off of the block here, and I'm going to try to lay them out on this one piece of cardstock. And that may mean that I'm readjusting how I lay all these things. So, and actually this one isn't an outline. That one is a solid image, so I don't even really have to put that one on there. Let me put that stamp set up here, or the package anyway, so that way I can keep a hold of it. All right, there we go. I know I'm kind of muttering to myself here just a little bit. I'm sorry for that, friends. So yesterday was World Card Making Day, and World Card Making Day is an absolutely fabulous day. It is a beautiful day of card making and fun and hanging out with friends and so on and so on. And I had a great time with a handful of my crafty friends here, and we got to watch some fun techniques and new things to help us with our creativity. And it was actually just a whole lot of fun to be able to hang out, and we had some snacks and just enjoy each other's company. I don't think that we do that nearly enough in this life, and we kind of suffer for it. Um, so there's so much loneliness going on in the world, and I think that it has everything in the world to do with the fact that we just don't take enough time with our friends. So anyway, this was all about hanging out with friends, and it was just so much fun. So I really enjoyed it, and I think that they did too. I think everyone had a great time. Let's see if we can put that one there. Look at this. This is kind of like paper crafting Jenga, right? I'm going to put you there. see if that gives you just a little bit more room. And then I'll put you there. Okay, and I think, oh, I've got you upside down. I need the flat side to be up, right? Because I'm going to stamp all of these at one time, or at least I'm thinking I might stamp all of these at one time. There we go. I think that's pretty good. All right. Well, everything fits on there nicely, and it looks like there's enough for a little bit of a border around everything. Of course, on your screen, I don't know if you can even see anything but the white piece of paper, which is, whatever. But know that the stamps are there, so you can kind of see them. That's interesting when I diffuse the light a little bit with my block. Hey, BK, how's it going? Yeah, Julie says it was very relaxing. Yeah, it was wonderful. I just really enjoyed having time together and just hanging out and having fun. All right, now, oops, you didn't stay. That's okay. I can just put you directly on there and you'll be fine. I'll stick within that little space there. Okay, give them all a good press, and then I'm going to double check that one last time just to be sure that this didn't go out of bounds, but I'm pretty sure that it's fine. Yeah, it's great. Okay, so now that I have all of the stamps, and so funny, you can see them all here, all right? So they're all arranged on the block, and these will all fit within a quarter sheet of cardstock. So I have my basic white cardstock here, and I've cut just a full sheet of cardstock into 4 pieces. So they're 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch pieces of cardstock. And this is going to give me the ability to make some different colors so that I can change the cards up just a little bit, just a little. Hey, Jay Morrill, how are you? Gorda, how's it going? All right, so I'm going to bring in a scrap piece of paper, and y'all, this is literally just to catch any background. I'm going to scoot it over just a little bit so we've got more of this plain background. And then I'm going to bring in, let's see, what colors should I do? I really kind of want to do fall colors because I am all about fall right now. And I love this time of year. It is my favorite time of year. So I think I'm going to go with Cajun Craze, pumpkin pie, crushed curry. Let's do a little green. How about mossy meadow and maybe a cherry cobbler? Ooh, look at that. If that doesn't scream fall, y'all, I don't know what does. All right. So, yeah, those colors are gorgeous. All right. So we've got cherry cobbler, Cajun craze, pumpkin pie, crushed curry, and mossy meadow. And these colors are just absolutely phenomenal. Okay. Now that I have the colors, I'm going to want to also grab my blending brushes. So let me just see here. I need my mossy meadow. Not blackberry. Oh, blackberry would be a good one also, though. How about, that's Cajun Craze. That's cherry cobbler. There's pumpkin pie. And let's see, Cajun Craze and not daffodil. How about crushed curry? There we go. All right. Now, generally speaking, when you're doing coloring, you really want to start with the lighter color and work your way to the darker stuff. That way, you get a nice even blend. So it's easier to blend a dark over a light than it is for a light over a dark. So we're going to start out with the crushed curry and work our way through the orangey reds. But I think before I do that, I actually want to put in just a little bit of my mossy meadow so that I do at least end up with some green in my project here. So I'm going to move my pads over just a little bit. There we go. Open up that mossy meadow. Now, when you're doing stamping, generally speaking, people will stamp in the center of an ink pad. And so you end up using up the ink in the center sooner than you use the ink around the edges. And because of that, when I'm using my blending brushes, I like to draw the ink from the outer edges. Not only does this pull that excess ink from there, but it also helps distribute the ink that is there more into the center as well. So I'm just going to kind of go around the edges and draw up some ink. Hey, fabulous Stamper, how are you, friend? And then I'm going to tap off the edge just a little bit because you see how rich that is? That is an awful lot of ink. And actually, maybe it was really, really juicy along the edges. I don't want that much. So I'm just going to brush off a little bit, and then I'm going to very lightly start brushing in little spots of green, okay? The idea here is that you can always add more, but once the ink is on the paper, it's there, okay? So I'm going to start out nice and easy and just give it some color. And I'm not worrying too much about those little streaks just yet. I'll be able to blend some of that out as I go. Okay. Just nice and easy. Okay, there we go. Do a little bit off the edges. And ultimately, we're going to color this entire paper with color. So there's not going to be any white spots left over. All right, and you can see I'm coming back over that first spot now and kind of blending out a little bit more. And the reason why I'm rotating around and not just focusing on this one first and then moving on is because, as you could see, when I added the ink here, it was really, really dark here. Not quite as dark here, not quite as dark here. So I'm taking some of the color from the brush, transferring it to the paper, then I'm coming back again with a lighter brush, okay? So I don't have as much ink on the brush. It's easier to blend out that way. And then, I can help disperse some of the color and help even out and soften some of those lines. Okay, and I think that's probably going to be all right. There we go. Okay. Now that I have that, and yes, trust the process because right now it looks like a hokey mess, okay? But it's not going to look that way. It's going to look very nice and very full. All right, so I've got my crushed curry, and again, just going to kind of come along the outsides and gather up that ink. And, I'm going to come across the front just because I can actually see on here where the color is in bulk, so to speak. So let me tap off a little bit there. And now I'm going to start right where I've got my green areas and just lightly work in. Okay. And you can see as I'm going, it blends nicely right into the green. And as I'm going along, I'm working into the green that's already there just a little bit, just enough to blend them in so that it's kind of one color fading into two rather than two totally separate colors. Okay. There we go. Come back up here to where I started out, where it's a little bit darker, so I can lighten it up and soften the edges. Okay. And I'm not going over the center parts that are green. I'm really just trying to blend the colors in together a little bit, all right? Hi, Grammy Cindy. How are you, love? So we want to build the colors up, and as we're going, it's gonna start coming together, and you're gonna see this beautiful fall coloration rather than just splotches, okay? You just have to trust the process a bit and know that when you're first starting out with it, it looks really, really hokey, but it won't continue to look that way, okay? And then, of course, once we get all of our colors on there, we'll be able to come back in and kind of move a little more if we need to. If the colors aren't quite blended the way we want them to be, we'll have a little bit of flexibility to add a bit more color and shift it, so to speak. Okay. All right. So now that I've got my crushed curry in there, I'm going to move on to pumpkin pie. And remember, we're just building up the layers of color here. Again, I'm drawing ink from the outer edges of my pad. All right. Okay, now we'll come in here just a bit. Here we go. And then we're just going to keep doing this. We're going to keep going around until we get a nice blend of color how we like it and get a nice background. And now, of course, this is literally just a background for our embossing. So once we do the embossing, it's going to look even different again because it's going to have gold texture, gold words and images all over it. So it'll look even different still once we do that. So it's really interesting to see kind of how it all comes together because it's just so cool. And every single one is going to be different, even using the same technique, even attempting to do it in the same fashion. It's still just incredible how it always looks just a little bit different. And I think that's one of the things that I love about making my own background is because of that. All right, come across here. And what I may also do is I may come in with some Old Olive and kind of blend out just a little bit more because I don't really want splotches of green. I do want it to blend in or blend out as the case may be. So if it doesn't blend out really well with the reds, I can always come back in with that with the Old Olive with a little bit of a lighter green and add just a bit more to it. But I think that we're going to be okay. You can see that the colors are really starting to blend together nicely now. We're getting a nice variety of the pumpkin and the crushed curry, so that's wonderful. And every time we introduce another color, it's just going to add that much more depth to it. Here we go. Now, the idea with this is that you're not wanting to cover up all of the yellow with the orange, right? You're just wanting to kind of blend a couple of layers together. So right now I'm using the orange to blend the yellow more towards the green and giving us a little bit of a softer tone, right? But still leaving some of that yellow showing because we're not trying to cover up the yellow with the orange. We're just trying to smooth it all into a nice soft transition. All right, now I'm going to pick up my Cajun Craze. So we're coming more into the deeper colors. And I'm going to be really easy lifting color from this one because I think I just re-inked it and it is juicy. All right, let me start off here. Bring that in. Okay. And you can start to see right here, it's really blending in a little bit better. So just like I said, trust the process and know that as you're adding layers, it's going to start softening up and working its way around how it's supposed to. So don't get overwhelmed at first when you look at your project and you say, oh my gosh, these colors are not blending the way she said they would. Just trust the process. What you want to do when you're gathering up your colors is that you want some colors that are kind of next to each other in the color family. So where I'm doing the fall colors, I've got the yellow fades into orange, fades into red, right? And then I'm blending in the green. And you just have to be a bit more careful with blending in the green just because, as you can see, it's a little bit more difficult to blend it into the rest of the colors because it is so much of a different color. And likewise, if you were to take multiple colors that didn't jive very well or weren't close to each other in the color family, for example, turquoise blue and hot pink. You would blend those together and work them in. They would come together into a purple, right? But you would really have to just work the two to make the color join there. If you have bold and bright color differences, they're a little bit harder to get worked in. But if you just take the time and are nice and gentle with it and just build up your color, you'll see that it works out really nicely. Okay, so here we go. We're going to come around here and kind of soften these edges just a bit. Okay. And I don't necessarily want just orange either, so I'm going to come across here. There we go. All right, a little bit here. I'm going to come across the top of that green just a little bit here so that I can help blend it in. Okay. There we go. Okay. All right, now let me grab my cherry cobbler, and I'm going to be really careful with the cherry cobbler as well because this one is a really dark, rich color, and we don't want to go into kind of an opposite direction of softness here. Okay, so let's just pound out some of that there. Okay, there we go. There. All right, now we're going to blend it out. There we go. And what I'm doing is I'm going around, I'm pressing a little harder in spots where I want a little bit more of the color, and I'm lightening up over areas that I don't want much transfer. Okay, so even though it looks like I'm going over the whole piece, I'm going harder and lighter pressure so that I can add more and less color to those areas. Okay. All right, now that I have that, I'm going to come back and I'm going to grab my old olive and just give us a little bit lighter areas here. My idea is that I'm going to now blend out that green just a bit. Whew, that one's juicy also. There we go. Okay, I'm going to come in off the edges and just really lightly blend it out. There we go. Okay, get a little bit more. Remember, you can always add more, but you can't take away. So it's always better to come in a little bit lighter and work your way in than it is to try to come in heavy and work it down. Okay, there we go. Let's blend that up just a little bit more. There we go. Okay. Hi, folks. I see more people are coming in. Dee, Rhonda, Christy, how are you guys? Hope you're all having a fabulous and relaxing, calm Sunday afternoon. Hubby is out doing yard work, mowing, making the yard look pretty, and I assume he'll be in at some point soon. Puppers are settled down, resting, because it's so hard to be a dog, you know. I really enjoy these laid back and relaxing days, and you know, we just really need them, don't we? Life is so hectic and so crazy busy. It's just nuts. And I'm finding the older I get, the more I really, really appreciate those just laid back and do nothing kind of days. Or if you're doing things like this, I mean, obviously I've got these things I need to get done, but this is relaxing and fun for me. All right, there we go. Okay, so you can see as I'm going along, I'm adding that green in and it's just kind of working its way in, and I'll keep building up my layers here, and eventually we will have something that we are really pleased with. And as soon as we do, then I'm going to take it over and do a little bit of heat embossing. And with that, what I'm going to do, as I had mentioned, is I've got all of my stamps on the block here, and they fit within the size of this paper. So I'm going to take it over to my heat embossing station, and I'm going to emboss the whole thing in gold. So this is actually just a background texture for that gold embossing, and I think it's going to be fabulous. I'm really wanting this nice fall kind of look. There we go. Now it's starting to come along. There. That's better. All right, now it does kind of look like a muted, jumbled mess on the screen, but just bear with me here. Just bear with me. All right, now I do want to lighten this up a bit because I don't want it to be dark. So I'm going to come in with my orange. This is pumpkin pie. Okay, and I'm going to come right over these areas here and just work it out. Here we go. Okay. Hi, Pound Pup. How's it going? Amy, how are ya? Okay, and then a little bit of yellow here. This is crushed curry. All right, I'm going to come in and add a bit more of that golden hue here. And then I think we'll be pretty well done and ready to go on and do our embossing. And when I do that, I'm going to head away from this area for just a few moments, but you're going to hear some loud noise in the background, the heat tool heating up, and all of that, but it shouldn't take me a second to get it done. So I won't be away from the screen too long. There we go. Okay, fabulous. There we go. There. I love it. I love it. Okay, now I don't know how well that's coming across on your screen, but I'm picking up all of the yellows, the oranges, the slight reds, and then of course the green tones. And I love that. I think it is fabulous. All right, shall we see what it looks like with gold on it, huh? Okay, so I will be right back, folks. Just stay tuned. And while you're waiting for me, how about, let's see. I'm gathering up my card supplies here to see what cards I have. I know I have more than that one. Well, here. Oh yeah. No, that's not it. Hold on. I'm kind of muttering and mumbling to myself. I do that often and I apologize, but that's how I manage to keep my brain on track. Because it just doesn't always want to manage. Okay. All right. So I will be back here in just a moment, okay? Let me get this embossed right quick. Alrighty. I'm so excited to show you guys what this looks like. It's going to be beautiful. I can't wait. Okay. Okay. Powder. Stamp. Tap, tap, tap. Now swish, swish, swish. Here we go. All right. All right, all right. Okay, now look at all of that. Isn't that beautiful? Okay, now it looks like a big jumbled up mess because I stamped all of the stamps on the background, but I'm going to come back in and I'm going to cut out all the various ones here. So I'm loving the texture and a nice subtle background, which is fabulous. All right, let me see here. I'm going to put my brushes over here out of the way so I don't get them all over my stuff. Go. Okay. Stack my inks. All right. Now then, I'm thinking that this is going to be my base. So I think I'm going to go with Cajun Craze. All right. Oh, do I have a scrap piece big enough? I don't think that I do. But maybe I do. There's a couple right there. All right, is that big enough? Let's see. Haha, dog. I love it when that happens. All right. There we go. Okay. Let me grab my die cut machine here. And here. How many of you guys are crafting today? And if you're crafting, what are you making? I'd love to hear all about it. I love these dies. They're so awesome. I love the stitched borders along with the outlines already pre-done for me. It's fantastic. I got to get my eyeballs on so that I'm going to be able to fussy cut these out. Hi, folks. Hello, Heather. How are you? Miss Crazy, how is it going? Linda, how are you, friend? Okay, let's see here. Grab my snips. And what I'm really wanting to focus on just now, especially, is the state outline here. So what I'm going to come along and just very easily along the edge, I'm going to leave it just a little bit of a border. Okay, so I'm leaving a little bit of paper edge around my embossing. I'm not cutting right on the embossing. Okay, give it just its little bit of edge there. Okay, and along the wonky corners. And I'm not gonna try too hard to be exact with this. I'm just gonna leave it a little bit of an edge. It doesn't have to be perfect. We'll just do just a little bit there. See, that looks really good, and we didn't have to be exact. Okay. And then along here, of course, the top and the bottom sides are the easiest to cut out of the state of Tennessee. Okay, I'm going to come in. Here we go. Just like that. And again, I'm not being super particular about my cutting. I'm just leaving a little bit of an edge all the way around. Okay, we don't have to be exact. There we go. A little bit less on that one, please. Thank you. Okay. And then I can kind of tidy that corner just a little because I don't want it to be so harsh and square. There we go. All right, so now we have this, and this is going to be kind of part of our focal deal here. Yesterday's World Card Making Days on my self-imposed brace from housework. In your recliner with a tall iced coffee. Actually, that sounds pretty amazing, my friend. I love the idea of a tall iced coffee. Make it caramel and you are speaking my language. Okay, now I've got all of these other little images that I can use here. And so I'm thinking one thing that I want to put in is I want to put in the little mountains and trees. I want to do this made in Tennessee here. And then some of these others I actually may save for something else, and I may stamp them directly onto whatever I'm going to do with this. So let me just take this one right here. I'm going to cut it out, and the Made in Tennessee. Okay. And then also, I think the heart, because I'll probably be able to use that. And then the others I'm just going to set aside for a bit. Okay. Oh, you got caramel foam in the fridge? Yum. All right. Here we go. We're just going to fussy cut all of these things out. And what is fussy cut? Fussy cut is literally just where you're cutting around it freestyle. No dies, just cutting around an image. There we go. Okay. I like that it's got a rustic looking vibe to it. So I think that we'll probably go that route with our background piece here too. But let's see what we do. We're going to go straight edges there because that's a squared banner. But then I'm going to try to get this circle remotely circular. Sometimes cutting around a circle is difficult for me. I don't always keep an even line. And that's okay. It's rustic, right? All right, I will try to trim that just a little. Not quite so pointy. There we go. That'll work. Okay. And then square the banner. There we go. You have a better chance of getting a nice consistent line if you turn the paper rather than the snips. So that's one good tip. Even still, sometimes my straight lines or curved lines, as it were, get a little wonky. But that's okay. We do what we can. There we go. I think that's pretty good. I like that. Okay, let me get my little crumbs out of the way here. And then one last piece. I'm loving the mountains and the trees, of course. Can't be thinking about Tennessee and not be thinking about the Smoky Mountains. Okay, here we go. And literally just doing, as you can see, this little zigzaggy cut because it's a tree and it's got some edges, but I'm not trying to be exact here. That's just crazy. But we will do a good little cut here. There we go. A little closer, please. Just imagine me doing 50 of these. I'm not sure that I'm going to do them all the same. This person is probably just going to be very, very lucky to get this fancy schmancy one. Or I may keep this one for myself and do simpler ones for everybody else. But this is the mood that I'm in today. Today's mood is fall vibes, and I cannot be happier for it. All right, again with the whoop, 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 zigzag, zigzag for the tree. There we go. There. Beautiful. All right, now there's a heart. Okay, so we got all of those pieces. Let's see. Hey, Glow Up with Shay. How's it going? Creative Connor, how are you? Colleen, Boss Mom, thanks so much for coming in, friends. We are making a Memorydex card for the state of Tennessee, and I am in a swap for 50 states Memorydex cards. And so, of course, I am representing representing our great and wonderful state of Tennessee. So I think I want to come in with probably, let me see what the cherry cobbler looks like. Let me see what the cherry cobbler looks like on this. Oh, I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for asking. Bitter Creek Collectibles, how are you, love? Here we go. I've got my little sponge dauber, and all right, here we go. Oh yeah. Yeah, I thought so. I had thought about doing Cajun Craze, but I honestly wanted it to have just a little bit darker of an edge rather than a neutral kind of look. So this is perfect. This is also going to help kind of give it a rustic leather look. When you have the paper with the stitching, and then you can do kind of a color coordinated darker outer edge, like the blending edges like I'm doing here, it really helps make the paper pop and look more dimensional and more textured. So we're going to actually just kind of bring this in a little bit farther than I would normally do, just to really soften it up all the way to the edges. And as you can see, the difference between this kind of flat one-dimensional to this beautiful, more softer two-dimensional look, it almost looks like a padded leather, which is really cool. I love it. All right, so this is Cajun Craze cardstock, and Cherry Cobbler ink is what we're using here just now. And I'm just going around all of the edges. And again, just like when we were making the background for this, starting out with a lighter hand and working it in darker, that's the way to go, because there is such a thing as too much, and you don't want that. You don't want too much. So we're going to just come in, do a light layer, and then build up on that layer, okay? So again, coming in with a little bit of a lighter edge, and then building up a little bit more on what's already done here. Okay, so again, adding a little bit, building up, just like so. Okay, beautiful. More along the edges. And then coming in a little bit heavier. And a little heavier still. Okay, and so you can see each pass that I'm making, I'm going a little farther in towards the middle where I'm starting at, because I'm really wanting it to have a nice soft fade line. I don't want it to have any harsh color lines here at all. I really, really want it to just lightly fade in to the outside. Okay, and I think we're doing a pretty good job of that, you can see. All right, now coming around here, I've got my last little section, nice and heavy right at the edges, but not too far in. Coming in a little bit more over what's already done, going a little farther in towards the middle, spreading it around, coming back, and every time I'm making a pass, I'm going farther and farther towards the middle with the brush that has less and less ink on it. Okay. There we go. And so that's how we're able to really blend out color without making those lines. Okay. And so we end up with this nice, Julie says she'll take my sample for her Rolodex. Okay, and then I'm just going to come along and very lightly And I'm not re-inking my sponge, but I am going to just go across the entire thing with whatever little bit of ink is left to help fade out the last little bits of the paper there. Okay, there we go. And now we have just a gorgeous, and look at the difference. So here's what it started out looking like. And now we have a really nice, beautiful, finished looking background piece to work with, which I think is wonderful. Okay, now let me put that away so I don't get ink everywhere. Close this up. All right. Okay, Jules, I'm making those handballs today, this afternoon, this afternoon, and I cannot wait because I am taking all of the things that I remember and I'm putting it all together. I've cleaned up my grand's hand crank grinder, the one that clamps on the end of a table or counter. And I've cleaned it up. And what I'm going to do is take my ham and pork and bacon, which, yes, I know are all three pork types, but they're different cuts of meat and processed different ways. And then I'm taking a little bit of ground beef and I'm going to run it all through the grinder together so that it really mixes up and incorporates the different meats. And then I'm going to start mixing in all of my ingredients. And I really think that I'm going to end up with, if it's not very close to my Granny Shields recipe, it's going to be a very nice substitute. So I'm really looking forward to it. I have not had handballs since I was a very young kid. And for those of my folks here watching that are going, what the heck is a handball? It is a very Midwestern dish. It's a type of meatball, and it's made primarily with pork. I think it's mostly an Iowa, Illinois kind of thing, maybe Missouri, but seems like Iowa is really the place where it lands. But anyway, of course, there are a lot of hog farms in Iowa, and so pork is more readily available and less expensive than beef. And so farmers, and of course back in Depression era, you used what you had on hand, and pork was more readily available. So these handballs are several different cuts of pork type meat and then also a little bit of beef mixed in. And so many different recipes with so many different additives. For example, graham crackers. So they have kind of a sweet, salty, savory kind of mix to them. But they have a bit of a tomato-based sauce with a little bit of sweet into it to make a glaze. And so amazing. I cannot wait. So anyway, I will bring some over to you, Jules, so that you can try them. But hopefully they turn out good. I'm sure they will, because how can you go wrong with those things mixed together? But we shall see. So anyway, I'm really looking forward to that. So today is just going to be a fabulous day. I'm choosing joy. All right. I've got my base piece figured out here, and I already know, of course, that I'm going to have to add a lighter color to my piece at some point. And so what I want to see actually is, where is that? Did it have... Usually my little dies here have a liner piece that we can use. So let me try. Haha, you're looking forward to sampling. Me too, my friend. I am so excited. That's too big. I cannot wait. I'm really hoping that they're going to be amazing. So anyway, we shall see. All right. What I'm wanting to do, folks, is I'm wanting, I need a white layer or a light colored layer, maybe even vanilla. Let me see how vanilla will look. I don't want it to be stark, and I know that that's what's going to happen as soon as I add in a pale color. So you can see we've got this nice rustic, almost look like rusted metal kind of look, which is exactly what I'm going for. I'm wanting a really nice fall rustic look, but I don't want it to be too dark. And so if I introduce this lighter color, you can see already it changes the tone entirely. So, of course, I know that I can ink this up too and give it just a little bit of depth, which of course I'm sure I will. But let's see here. This is all in the design process, folks. And for those who have designed um, who have designed projects, you know that sometimes it takes a minute. Sometimes things flow and it goes beautifully, and other times it's kind of like, oof, it takes just a bit to work it into. But we're gonna see. And this piece right here is the piece I really desperately want to use, and I have to be careful because this is the size of a Memorydex card. And generally speaking, you don't want things to hang over the edges too far because you want it to sit on your Memorydex, whatever Rolodex thing you have. So, for example, this is an old Rolodex that I actually found at a Goodwill, and I keep meaning to do something with it, and actually had thought that I might use this for my 50 states Rolodex, but I'm not sure yet. I haven't decided. But anyway, so this is essentially the deal, okay? And so this will go on here and it clips in. And so you can see that there's not really a whole lot of room on either side of it for anything to hang over. So generally speaking, when you're making a Memorydex card, you can go out just a little bit, but not much. But you really can't go out from the sides at all because it needs to fit. Now, the reason why you can't really go higher too much is because, as you can see when it lays down, it has to be able to clear whatever the stand is, right? So this really is your boundary. Okay, this is pretty much it. So I need to be able to figure out how to get this to fit on here. And as you can see, it hangs over quite a bit. So I was thinking that if I bring it like this, then it relatively lines up with the edge and it's not any higher than that point. So that should work. Okay, that should work. But then, do I put any of the extra stuff in? You know, we'll figure out what we're going to do here, but I'd really like to use all these pieces. I think that I'm going to put this one down here. And I thought about maybe putting some kind of a patterned paper or something in the background. Again, not sure. We're in the midst of the design process here. So let's see. And also knowing that I am, this is probably going to be a single, and then I'll have to figure out what I'm going to do for my other for my actual 50 pieces, because I don't think that I'm going to do this for all 50. I don't think that I'll have the supplies to do this for all 50. So let me just see if I wonder if I've got a nice little. No, that's the only one, and I don't really like the foxes. Is there another kind of. I'm looking for a Cajun Craze kind of looking paper, but That one's not going to be it. What about this one? Oh, this one's a bit brighter, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know that this one's going to work either. I will need to put a hidden card on the back to reinforce the holes and maybe a tiny piece for the protruding part. Possibly. I won't necessarily need to do... Well, I might need to do a reinforcement on the holes, but generally my dies here, they actually have a second layer that kind of helps reinforce it, and this one didn't. And I was thinking it did, but case in point, this one right here, well, this one doesn't even actually have a reinforcement here, but it has this die, and then it has this one that fits the size inside here. But this one doesn't have anything like that, and I could make one do it, but I don't want to cover up all of that beautiful background either. Let's see here. This one, what I thought might have, and it might have fit. I could probably cut this one down a little, but this one's got the right here. I would just definitely have to cut this down to right there. And then I'm not really sure how I feel about the way that looks. So I'm not crazy about that one. So I'm not sure. But here is another example of one of the memory deck spaces. And then, this lines up right over the top, so it fits in nicely. And I know I have a whole stash of different memory decks dies because I've been collecting them, and I may have misplaced them or put them away in a nice, safe location where I have proceeded to lose them. I don't know. But but I've got several different memory decks. I've got several different memory decks card dies. This one's a really nice one. It's a ZF Partisan. They've got a bunch of different patterns and designs. There's some that are shaped like a phone, like an old telephone. Some that are shaped like bubblegum machines and all kinds of really cool stuff. And I know that I have several different ones, and be darned if I can't find them. So let's see. I'm looking through my collection here. Oh, what about... No, not that one. Sorry, I'm just looking through my stuff here. I don't think they're in this one. This right here is all of the dies, and this is that KS Craft is another absolutely amazing one. This set of dies makes up that whole memory decks holder out of paper. And oh my word, I made one of them and I absolutely loved it. It was so much work because you have to cut like 20 of each of several different shapes in here. And she's got a video that shows you how to do it. And I sent it over to the Tennessee Valley Fair, and it kind of got a little messed up. So I was really sad about that. But anyway, this does not have any of those dies. It just has dies for the holders. So that's not what I'm looking for. Anyway, okay. Well, I'm actually just going to move on. I do have my punch, so I could just cut a piece. I'm going to go ahead and do that. That's going to have to be good because I don't know. I misplace things apparently. And, you know, in the midst of my moving things around and getting things organized, which is the most ironic statement ever, considering I just said that I had lost it. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I am going to set this aside for just a moment. I'm going to set it up here. Okay, and then I'm going to take this piece and what are my measurements here? I actually think, what if I die cut a whole other one and then trimmed just inside of the stitching? Let's just try it and see. Worst case scenario, we end up with an extra little die cut piece. It's no big deal. All right, let me set this off to the side here instead of bringing that machine in. Okay. All right. Set that aside. Okay, so I have this one. You'll trade me the Rolodex cards for the card and that cool stamp set. Yes, absolutely. Especially the cool stamp set, huh? All right. Okay. What I'm wondering here, if I were to trim inside of the stitching, that would leave me just a little bit of a border. Now, I really don't want to cover up all of this. I don't mind to cover up about 1/4 of an inch or so. You know, I'm not sure. So let's take a look and see. Worst case scenario, right? Okay. And I'm just going to cut straight across here because we know that's what's going to happen anyway. And right now I'm literally just cutting along the stitching. So it's actually giving me the railroad track feeling as I'm cutting along. And it's leaving little wonky edges here. So I will come back in and trim around it again. And maybe should have done that from the get-go and just used it as a guide to trim 1/4 of an inch or so around. But, you know, I wasn't thinking like that. Here we go. All right. Okay, now, of course, I have not trimmed the bottom at all, but even just from that, you can see it's just going to leave a little tiny edge, but I don't want to waste all of that. I don't need that much on there. And I'm really thinking that maybe this isn't even a good idea to do and that I should just leave this alone and work from another angle because I really don't want to cover up. I don't want to cover up any of it. So maybe instead we can just put some strips of cardstock instead. Okay. Let me come back to this. All right. Now, what if, let me bring in some linen thread. I'm really trying to keep with that rustic look, right? Okay. And let me come in here, grab my ribbon snips. All right. Hi, Rachel. How are you, darling? Hope you're doing well today. I'm just tinkering around trying to design something here. That's not going to be enough. I don't like that. I'm making a little rustic memory decks card. Okay. There we go. Okay, let me see. All right. Let's see. I'm just going to let that sit for just a minute. I definitely like the idea of putting this down. I really like the idea of popping that up right there. So let's see here. I'm not trying to make it look very plain either, so I'm going to have to add some things. But anyway, if any of you are out there looking and you have some ideas for me, please feel free to share. This is all a learning and experimenting thing here, so I don't have an actual idea in mind. I'm just designing as I go. So let me put you right there. Yes, I think that'll be good. And let's see. What if I put this guy up here? Okay. I kind of want to stamp. Maybe stamping the background is the way to go here. Hold on. Let's do this. Let's take you off. Okay. Let's try. Come on. Quit. And if I do that, I'm definitely going to do it tone on tone. So I'm going to do Cajun Craze. And I think, shall we do Tennessee or shall we do, I think we should do Rocky Top. Because Rocky Top, I think, is the way to go. So, here we go. And then let me bring in my smaller scrap here. Need the logo of Tennessee's 3 stars. Yes, actually. Oh, blinged with 3 gold sequins. Oh, yeah. Let's see. You know, if only we had some stars. Do I have any of those gold stars left? Wouldn't that be great? Let me see. I'm not sure that I do. I have these little gold. Those are not at all stars, but they are gold. Come on. And I've got hearts, but they're not gold. Oh, I've got Halloween stars. I know we used to have some little gold stars, but I don't think I have any left. I don't think. I wonder if I couldn't do something, because those are right about the right size too. All right. I know I got a little derailed here, folks, but let's see if I can't maybe put a... What color is this? Darling Duckling. Can I maybe do Darling Duckling over it and make it look gold? No, that's not really helping much, is it? No. Okay, let me try Daffodil. Though it is kind of Tennessee orange, so I guess there's that, right? It is Tennessee orange. Okay, so let me just cover 3 of them up so that they match, because there is a slight tonal difference there. And then I'll do that. That'll draw out the orange more than gold, but Tennessee orange is okay. It's okay. All right, so there we go. Okay, now, while that's sitting off to the side, settling down, let me take my Rocky Top stamp here, and I think, or do I want to do Tennessee? If I do Tennessee, it'll be bigger font and take less time, but maybe, yeah, maybe. Or Rocky Top. What do you guys think? So Rocky Top will be quite a bit smaller. It'll take a little bit longer to cover the whole background, but what I'm thinking is that I'll just use this to stamp kind of the background here to give it a little something so that it's not totally plain, but make it so that I don't have to add something else to cover it because I don't want it to be covered. I really like the texture, but if I stamp Tennessee, or if I stamp Rocky Top's going to be a lot smaller and a lot more pieces. Maybe do Tennessee. All right, let's do that. Let me grab my block here. Okay. Hello, welcome in everyone. Thank you for joining me. I am designing a Tennessee State Memorydex card for a 50 states Memorydex swap. And I've got a nice leathered looking background panel. I've got my Tennessee State that is gold embossed already and ready to go. And now I'm just thinking that perhaps I can. Yes. All right, let me bring this closer to me though. So give me just a second here. I don't want to put my face in the camera, so I'm bringing it down closer, and there's a little bit of a glare to me, but I'll show you as it goes here. This is going to be nice. Yes, I think this was the idea, folks. Yes. Okay. I'm liking this. This was a good call. Okay, now obviously I'm going to do the whole thing, but look at that. That's a really nice little background, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. Sweet. Now I am trying to stagger these enough that they're different, but there we go. Come in a little bit more, please. There we go. Yep. Oh yeah, that's going to be nice. Okay. I dig it. And this isn't going to take as long as that Rocky Top would have. That's so pretty. Okay, this is really cool. Yeah, this is definitely not one that I would want to repeat. I wouldn't want to do this one 50 times. But it sure is pretty. It is really, really pretty. Okay. All right, there we go. Oh man, look at that. Oh, I love it. Okay, that is nice. That is very, very nice. Okay, now let's see here. All right, now we've got this in here, bringing that in. Yes, fabulous. Maybe even instead of tucking it behind, maybe that's gonna go right on the top of that. I'm not sure. Let's see how this looks with. Should we do the Tennessee orange or should we do? All right, let's see here. Oops, hold on. Ha 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 ha. Yes, yes. That was a terrific idea, Jules. Well done. Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm in love. This is gorgeous. Okay. Hold tight, friends. I'm so glad that I still had some of those. Okay. Now, the only thing with this one is that the image has this cut off, but I'm really thinking I'm just going to leave it on because it's great. Yeah, it looks really nice with it left on. Look at that. Isn't that cool? And they fit perfectly. They absolutely do. That was a brilliant idea. Okay, now, of course, I know I also want to pop this guy up. So that really does make a difference. Let me go ahead and just add the dimensionals to the back of him because it's amazing how it works, but it really does make all the difference in the world when you have something popped up versus when you've got it just all flat and sad. And we like things to be popped up. So there we go. Okay. Oh wow, that is just a beautiful piece already. I'm in love with this. Okay. This is great. I love it. All right. All right. All right. Now, what if I were to put this here and then punch out that hole? What do you think? Or even maybe not necessarily across both. I don't think I like that. Or it looks fine up there too. Okay, I'm going to pull that out of the way so that it's not obstructing our view. And let's see. Of course, we are still doing Made in Tennessee. I am loving this already. This is beautiful. Yeah, isn't it gorgeous? Yes. Okay, and there's that. I don't know. We'll figure out how we want that to go. We'll figure out how we want that to go. Okay, now what if we did let's see. You know, hold on here. What if give me a block. Clean my stamp so I don't get inky all over me because I will get inky all over me. Okay. Let's see here. All right. I'm going to slide this up. Whoops. Don't get out of focus here. Okay. Tap, 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 not smush, smush, smush. Okay. And, oops. Do the heart in a different color and put about where Knoxville is. You know, it's, I could. There's trees right there now. And it's a little bit big, but, you know, it wouldn't look bad covering up the trees just slightly. So let's see. We'll do that. You know what we'll do? We will grab that solid heart and do, let me see here. Let me do the solid heart and the outline and see if they line up on each other. They might. We shall see. We shall see. Okay. Okay. We need the solid heart to be orange because, you know. And let's do the outline in cherry cobbler. So it's got just a nice little outline if we can get it to work that way. We'll see. Not too bad. Okay. All right. I'm going to trim off this. Okay. And then let's see here. Trim that off separate. What I'm thinking is I might want to do a little dangle or something. I'm not sure here. Oh, you've got an idea for the backside. Ooh, awesome. Okay. All right. I'm going to trim around. You know, I don't know if I want that light border around it or not, but we'll see. We shall see. All right. Yeah, I don't like it with the border, so I'm going to go ahead and trim it all the way down and get all of the light color off of there. Much as I can, anyway. Oop, come on now. There we go. Just a little more here. There we go. Okay, now what I'm going to do, because I really don't want any light color around the edges there, I'm actually going to run it along my ink pad here. And that will just add that little bit. There we go. Okay. And then, where's my little blender pen? I'm going to take my blender pen. I'm going to pull up some color and just come in right here because I can't get into that little fold, right? So I'm just going to grab that color up like that. There we go. There we go. Now that I like. Okay. Now, what to do with this guy? Well, let's see here. Clean off my stamps right quick. Okay. If we leave it plain, then again, we're having the same issue there. Kind of want to put a light of maybe Cajun Craze. Or maybe even crumb cake, but kind of want to stick with what we're already using. Let me just take it on the back side of it and see. If I were to do this is what it would look like. Would have that kind of light. Oh, for pity's sake with that light. You can't even really see it with the light. But anyway, it's just a softer tone. Don't need that much, that's for sure. Let me just do on the back. That way it'll be a little bit lighter by the time I use it on the front. Okay, so the idea is not where the darker is, where I first started, but right here along the edges where it's just a little bit lighter. And I think that's what I'm going to do because then that kind of gives it a little softer look. Oh yeah, that actually looks really nice with that stamping on there. Okay, so we're going to do that. Yeah, that helped a lot. Okay, there we go. Okay, yep, I like that. And then I'm going to trim around that because, we don't need all that excess. We're just leaving that on there to make it easier to hang on to. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come along and just kind of give it a rustic kind of cut, which basically means I'm absolutely not trying to give it a straight line. I'm just kind of roughly cutting along the edges, but I will give it a little bit of a corner because it does look like it's kind of got a nice corner. And notice I'm jiggling the paper just a little tiny bit, and that's just giving it a softer edge rather than a crisp square straight edge. Okay. I know that seems weird, but it really does make a little bit of difference here. Just giving it a softer, like a hand-drawn line rather than a square line. Okay, let's cut you off. Okay, now here, we're going to have to be a little more deliberate and careful because we're going to cut around this. Just like that. There we go. I love it. Okay, so there's that little piece there. Okay, we got Rocky Top, Home Sweet Home to Me. I love it. Okay, and let's put that aside. What if I put that like that? What if I did that? All right, let's see. Hey, Principal Art Studio. How are you, friend? I think you're probably the person that I need. We're just playing right now. We're creating a Memory Dex card for a 50 states Memory Dex swap, and I'm doing the state of Tennessee, and I want to add a little bit of different techniques to it, but I'm trying to keep it kind of rustic looking um, and adding my little elements in here, which may or may not suffice. Now, the one thing that has to be constant ish is that this Tennessee really, unfortunately, has to be up at an angle like this in order for it to fit on the panel. Because, Memory Dex card, it needs to stay relatively within the confines of this space. So, in order to get the whole thing on there, I've got to do it at the angle. Now, I did actually think about, and I don't know how it would look, of course, but I did think about cutting it in half and doing like half here and half underneath it, but that seemed really weird, and I wasn't sure how I felt about that one. So I'm not going to do that. Let me go ahead and put this on before I forget that it's not attached. Is that going to be small enough to fit the space? Not really. Oh, well, too bad. Too bad, so sad it is now. It's stuck on. All right, it's okay. That's okay. We will do this. Not Cajun Craze, but Cherry Cobbler. Okay. Grab up some ink, and I'm just going to color this. That way, if any edge of it shows, it won't matter. Okay, there we go. I think it's all pretty well covered, but sometimes when your dimensional goes right to the edge of your paper, if you barely look sideways at it, you can see it. And this way, it'll just kind of help cover it up a little. There we go. All right. And then the heart of Knoxville, right about there. There we go. Though actually, I should have put the heart at Nashville, since Nashville is the state capital. That actually makes a little more sense, but that's okay. All right. Actually, I do kind of think I'll do that. Right there. There we go. That's better. Okay. All right. Now then, I've got that. And I actually really liked the idea of putting this down. So let me get a little bit of my adhesive here. Put it right there. Come on now. There you go. That works. Okay. And then a dimensional right there on the top of it. And this is going to hold my Made in Tennessee. So that we like. Come here. Okay. Yep, like that. Okay, that's cute. I like that. All right, now we're getting somewhere. Yes. Okay, I like that. I could. Ooh, I kind of like that. That's cute. All right. And then what if I did Rocky Top here? Interesting. Okay, let's do this. I really do like that. Okay. There we go. Like the mountains there. Nice. Okay. And then I could go ahead and put Tennessee on. Okay, let me bring it down just a touch, just a touch. There we go. Yep, there we go. I think that's good. Hello. Alrighty. Okay, what do you guys think about that so far? I think that's pretty good, huh? I'll bring that in corner to corner here. Yep, there we go. Just a little bit there. That's fabulous. All right. I really like that, so that's good. Okay, now then, I've got this Rocky Top Home Sweet Home to me, and I'm not terribly sure that it's jiving with what I've got going on here, but maybe. Well, I'm not sure. What do you think, guys? I wish that and I'm going to drop it. I don't know if my lighting is just wonky or what, but there we go. What do you think? I'm actually not sure if I want to put that on there. I really like this and maybe need to put something else. And maybe I just put that back here. I don't know. We'll see. All right. So let's see. I've got this little bit left here and front porch sitting, sweet tea sipping. I've still got that, and I think it's big enough there. I do have the one embossed there. It's this, but embossed. It's right here. What if I cut that out and just put it there? Maybe, I don't know. Another piece that I had that I thought was really cool would have been the Tennessee here. But that's too much Tennessee. There is such a thing. Not really. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. There's no such thing as too much Tennessee. But let's see here. Let me just piddle a little bit. Okay. There's those. Good old Rocky Top. Okay. Let me see what this one might look like instead. I like that. I like it. Okay. Yeah, that's cute. Popped up just like that, I think. Okay. I hadn't really planned on doing a more monochromatic kind of look, but it definitely fits the rustic vibe, which I really like. I might do 2 layers of dimension there so that that can be popped up once from the card. So let's do that. Okay. Yes, that's better. I'll need 2 here and then 1 there, I think. All right. Let's go 1 and 2 here. Okay. Yeah, there we go. I dig that. I really like that a lot, actually. Okay. We'll do it right down here at the edge so it's not covering up very much. There we go. Oh, that's pretty. I like that. We've got our Tennessee stars there. We've got the heart of Tennessee. Absolutely beautiful. I think that's a good thing here. Let's see. There we go. Yeah, it looks great, right? Yes, I think so too. I'm going to put this little hashtag Tennessee right there in that one spot to kind of balance everything out, and then I think it is good. Yes. There we go. Yep. Yep, I think that's it. I think that is gorgeous. All right. Well, I love that. And then, of course, I think I could add just a little bit of Wink of Stella here, a little glitter to the heart. Here we go. Yep. And I don't know if it'll stick to the stars or not, but we'll see. There we go. There we go. I think that does it, folks. Absolutely beautiful. Really nice, rustic looking, and just very pretty, I think. I think so. Yes, I love all of the different techniques that we used here. I love making the fall kind of mottled background. I love the gold embossing over the top of it, the kind of faux leather background on the card itself, which you can see the difference in the color from that to that. And then definitely stamping on top of it just really added a little bit of something. So it kept it from going from that plain background to a nice, beautiful, subtle background without being overpowering. And that was absolutely wonderful. So I think that's great. And I absolutely love it. Jules, I think I might have to make a second one because I'm not sure I'm wanting to let this one go. So I'm going to have to make another one, which is totally fine. It'll be wonderful. And then I think maybe I'll take this one. I really liked the Tennessee with the guitar over the top of it. I may cut that one off and put it on the back there since I've got my Rocky top here. I may go ahead and just do that, and that way it gives a little something, but I'm not going to attach it yet, Julie, until I hear your thoughts and ideas on that. So we'll wait and see. You've got great ideas, so we'll see how that goes. But I will go ahead and cut this out and have it ready there. So, all right, guys. Well, thank you all so much for hanging out with me for a little bit of design time. Actually, the weather is super fabulous, and we've been on here for right about 2 hours. So I think I'm going to go ahead and call it a day this time. I know generally I stay on for several hours and continue to create all sorts of things, but I'm going to go upstairs and get those handballs made. So the more I'm thinking about them, the more it makes my stomach hungry, and the more it makes me ready to get in there and get that done. So thank you all so very much for hanging out with me this afternoon. I really appreciate you all, and I hope that you enjoyed the techniques. And yeah, isn't that pretty? That'd be a great little label, wouldn't it? And yeah, you could still totally put your little magnet on the back. That would be amazing. All right, so there you go, friends. Thank you again so much for being with me, and I hope that you will plan to join me next Sunday at 1 p.m. for design time. And if you have any kind of fun techniques or something that you'd like me to show you, send me a message and let me know. And anyway, yeah, so otherwise, thank you all again and have a wonderful rest of your Sunday. And I hope you guys have a terrific next week. Go outside and enjoy the beautiful fall weather, okay? I will talk to you guys later, all right? Bye for now. Let's see here. Hold on. We need to hold on. Where, oh, where? Here we go. Let's see if we can find somebody to raid, shall we? How about I always forget to do a raid before I tell everybody goodbye, and then folks leave. That's okay. I'm going to go ahead and head over to Chelsea's Full Moon Finds. All right, guys, here we go. Let's start this raid, shall we?